Hi, welcome to A Psych. It's Miss M here, and I just got done with section C, but I created it myself for you. It's not easy. I understand it's not easy, especially on a whim when you have no idea what the prompt's going to be. Okay, so the specific study that I created for you was an observation. So if you need help with observations in particular, this is the video for you. Okay, so this is for paper 2. Specifically, it's 2019, it's 9990-21, paper 2, section C, creating your own study. And then there's that supplemental question afterwards that is you evaluating your study. All right, so I'll give you a couple hints when you're creating this. It's who, what, when, where, and how. The how is the procedure. Now, when you're going through all of these, you want to be as detailed as possible. For example, if you're talking about the who is the population? Who is the sample? How did you get your sample? How many people or kids are in your sample? Did you have to put an ad out? Tell me if it's volunteer. Tell me if it's opportunity. All right. Tell me everything you can about the who. Then move on. All right. You'll see that I did it kind of structured in this paper for you. All right, you'll get a better look at it in just a few minutes. So if you like this type of content where I grade papers, I would love for you to like this video and especially follow me for more psychology content, even other than ACE Psych, okay? Because what's next? College psychology is so cool. I'll be getting into that soon too. All right, without further ado, head over, learn how to design a paper, and if you're still stuck, I do have another video I'll link in the description here, okay? Good luck, guys. All right, guys, here we are, section C of paper 2. So specifically, this is 9990-21, paper 2 for October, November of 2019. And we are going to complete this question, which is this section C. Okay, so this is the the second to last question on paper 2. The very last question is actually the B portion of this, and that is you evaluating your study you just created. Okay, so similar to paper 1, I'm going to tell you to do this question first. And as you can see, this question plus the one after is 14 points. So, you're allotted approximately a minute and a half per point. So, I'm going to tell you to give yourself about 25 minutes to complete these last two questions, just because you're going to have to brainstorm and as you go back and you start to answer, start from question 1 and answer through the test, you might, gain insight from those questions and be able to go back and kind of tweak your answers a little bit. Okay, so to start off, I'm just going to change this name to Peter. Please forgive me because I'm going to butcher this name every single time. All right, and for your sanity, I will call her Peter. I don't care. Peter, her. Okay. Peter is a teacher. Peter, a teacher, has been watching the young children at her school. See, it is a her. Playing at lunchtime. She has noticed that there are several different games and activities that they do. She is planning a structured observation to find out which activities are most common. Okay, so let's circle a couple things that are super important here. We have young children, so this is our sample. It's going to be our population. Okay, we have to, who is our sample going to be? Where are we going to get that sample? Who are these people? Okay, and she saw them at her school playing at lunchtime. So we know the observation is probably going to happen at school. Okay, I'm just throwing these who, what, when, where, how. You can write that who, what, when, where, how. Okay, answering these questions is very important. I would also suggest maybe writing down a few things like variables and ethics. Another thing you're going to just want to like operationalize as much as possible. Okay, anything that has basically, I don't know if you can see operationalize up there. Anything that is like questionable of, you know, what a behavior is needs to be defined. Okay, so let's go through. There's a couple more hints here that are going to help us. She has noticed that there are several different games and activities that they do. She is planning a structured observation. All right, so when we say, what are we doing? We are, okay. We're probably going to need to add some more detail into that, okay? To find out which activities are most common. So this, most common, so occur most often. All right, and, you know, since we're kind of talking about this, when we split these up, we're basically going to, you know, when we read the data afterwards, we're going to be creating a bar graph. So you don't have to mention this, but I'm just kind of, you know, these are categories. Okay, it's not a frequency, so these are categories bar graph. All right, so describe how Peter could conduct a structured observation to investigate the children's play. All right, now let's begin. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now the biggest thing, well, the two biggest things I will say that you need to include in this paper. It's going to be this: what is being observed, okay? And you're going to need to operationalize it. You're going to need to define what is being observed, exactly what those behaviors that will be recorded, whether it's the name of a category, and then defining them or operationalizing them, okay? You're also definitely just go through the who, what, when, where, how. And I'll tell you that the how is the most important, because the how is going to basically create the reliability. This is the standardized procedures. This is where your controls are. So if I, the reader, want to redo your study to see if it's reliable, then I want to be able to go into your how and say, okay, this is exactly how they did it. I'm going to do it verbatim, and I should come up with the same exact results, right? Okay. Okay, let's see if you guys can stay with me as I write this, and I'm sure this is going to go in and out of focus a little bit, so I appreciate you staying with me. And if you like this type of content, you like me grading papers, please like and share this content with your fellow classmates. You know, even people who are not taking Cambridge at the moment, just knowing that something like this exists, I really, truly appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the who, because we have young children. So our population is young children. Okay, I'm just going to put, just for extra detail, I'm just going to put under 10 years old. I can do that because it doesn't say that in here, so I'm just adding some detail of my own. Okay, so when you're just creating a mock experiment, okay, a mock experiment, thinking what could possibly happen if you had, you know, all the resources in the world. Is it possible? Okay, what can we do here? What can we create? So we have 10-year-olds, but we're going to sample from the school. So the sample, let's see, is going to be from Mrs. Peters' classroom, which she teaches, let's just say she teaches 5th grade. So we'll say 5th graders. And in Mrs. P's classroom. And let's get specific with some gender. So we'll just say 16 girls and 10 boys. Ages, how old are you in 5th grade? Like 10 years old? Well, yeah, that works, right? Average age 10. Okay, we just said that. Average age 9 to 10. Now, awesome. So let's also kind of talk about how we got our sample. Okay, we want to be as detailed as possible. Now, it seems, these kids are in her class at her school. So this is going to be an opportunity sample because we're going to have Mrs. Peter ask her own students to be part of her study. Actually, we're not going to have her ask. She's just going to, she's going to have to ask the parents because her students are 9 to 10 years old. So let's just say that Mrs. P sends home a permission slip, parental consent, and don't forget, what they're signing parental consent to. So parental consent for study / observation on most often played activities. Okay, so this is going to be my who, and I'm going to label this here. They don't mind if you label it. It might actually be easier for them to find it, to be honest with you. They won't tell you that, though. Okay, let's just make sure. So I have the sampling technique. Did I say opportunity? No, I'm going to write that, though. Opportunity sample. Okay, I'm going to send home permission slips from her own class. Okay, and I have the sampling size, 16 girls and 10 boys. Wait, that's a small class, not normal. It's usually about 35 or so, right? Okay. All right, let's just kind of go up. So we're going to do what next? So what? Just kind of put it here on the side. All right. So the what part is really, really important because this is going to talk about basically what behaviors that we are going to record. Okay. And, this is also going to be where we talk about like any definitions, operational definitions of behavior. And we can also talk about like what we're measuring. Okay. So this can get a little bit tricky. I'm just going to come up with maybe 3 behaviors to observe. Okay. We don't necessarily need an independent variable in this study if we are just observing behaviors. And maybe in this observation, the reason we're doing this observation is because we don't exactly know, the 2 most popular observations. So we're probably going to have 3 or 4 different behaviors, and then we're going to describe how we're going to record those behaviors. Okay. So I'm going to say, again, games and activities that the children do. So let's just do hopscotch. I don't even know if kids play these games anymore. How about a 10-year-old? Oh my gosh, 10-year-old. I didn't even think of this. Let's say tag. And we'll do one that's like sitting and talking, because that's an activity. Chatting, sitting and talking. Well, we can't do that. Let's just do sitting in groups. I say we can't do sitting and talking because we don't really know if they're talking unless we go up to them. And then if we say sitting and talking, then we're introducing two variables in one. Okay, so we have hopscotch, tag, sitting in groups, and then we'll say playing electronics. So these are going to be the activities monitored. One, two, three, four. So sorry about that, guys. You gotta watch my hand the whole time, I know. And you know, this is because I'm not doing the digital thing. So sorry. I work so much better when I can do this by hand. Okay, hopscotch. We have to give, what does hopscotch look like? Okay, so this is going to, in order for people to be considered playing hopscotch, they need to be standing around what do they call it? A game board, the board, a hopscotch board, the board. I'll just put this. Hopping on one foot, etc. Whatever you guys want to like. This is you operationalizing what does hopscotch look like. Okay, you need to hopping on one foot around this specific board. Maybe there's a pebble involved. Okay, tag, I'm going to say running after another child with the purpose of touching them. See how difficult it is to operationally define certain activities? Maybe I should have done something a little less like, I don't know, holding hands. Okay, sitting in groups. What's going to... Okay, so this is no physical movement for, oh no, let's see, more than a minute. And if they're sitting in a group, then it must be more than, I'm going to say more than 2 people. Or 2 people or more. 2 kids or more. Okay, I am really defining this. Okay, I don't want someone to come up and challenge me and say, well, is that sitting in a group? Does that consider sitting in a group? Okay, so they have to be sitting down for more than 1 minute, and it has to be at least 2 kids there. That is considered an activity of sitting down. Electronics, this is any handheld device, computer. In order to be playing it, they must be looking down at device. Okay, and then we can time this. I mean, we can time how long the groups, how long sitting occurs, how long electronics, how often, how many. Okay, so you know, description of how we're going to tally these is definitely going to be necessary, but it's not going to be like a huge major omission if you forget it. It's just going to definitely be something minor, okay? But this is also where I would say, you know, where I mentioned that bar chart. This is also where I would say that you can take the data and, you know, the data will be analyzed in the form of a bar chart or a bar graph. Okay, so we can put tally behavior when it occurs, count number of children playing at time of tally. So, I mean, if we have to get technical, we don't, what if like one kid runs from hopscotch to go play tag? Maybe we should do this every 15 minutes. We should look at the behavior and see where everyone is at. So we're going to redo this. Behavioral observational data, behavioral data, tally sheet. We're going to redo this every 15 minutes. Oops. And then recount groups. Okay, so if we're recounting the groups every 15 minutes, we're going to get some idea of what the most common activities are. We'll also be able to see if kids are moving around the room and if they're changing activities. You can add all that information in there. Okay, now that was the what. Now let's talk about the when. Okay, so who, what, when. All right, so I'm thinking that we're going to be doing this during recess, and it's going to be field experiment, okay, because it's in the child's natural environment, which is recess or the classroom. So field experiment, okay, just know that we're going to have good ecological validity that way. Okay, and what else did I say? Well, we already have structured observations, so structured observations. And again, the word structured just means that we already know what we're looking at. If it's unstructured, then we have no idea. We could be writing down 100 different activities. Okay? And maybe every 15 minutes we're counting activities instead of us counting, how many kids are there. Because I'm going to guess that which we haven't written this down yet. We have not written our dependent variable, which maybe we should write it in the what, but we could, technically, I guess we can do that in the how if you want to, but I'm just going to make a side note of that too. So a field experiment, structured observations, I'm just going to throw right here. They're not going to, dependent variable. So we are measuring the number of children at each activity so the number of children at each activity, we know we're doing it every 15 minutes. I already said that. So measuring it, the number of children at each activity. So that's going to tell us that which activities are the most popular, at which children are kind of huddled around those type of activities. Okay. And that's important because when you're asked to, what is most often, what is most common, how are we going to define or notice, what's going to make us say, yeah, that is the most common. It's, obviously popularity, what the kids are playing, what they're doing. Okay. So, we have when we're doing it, field experiment, structured observations at recess. And that's kind of the where, as the where is there as well. Okay, the location that when the data is going to be collected, I guess, at recess is the where. It could be a lot more detailed than this if depending on the question. So we're going to be at recess. Maybe recess is 1 hour long. Okay. Now, I've already got controls going on in my head. If you start to think about some things, kind of jot them off to the side. So I'm going to write this control because I think, honestly, like if kids are at recess and you eat a lot of food, sometimes you get cramps. I know that sounds crazy, but like maybe we don't do it after lunch. Maybe we do it like before lunch so the kids don't have like any cramps or they don't get any cramping, and which would make them want to like sit down more than like maybe playing tag. So let's control. I'm going to just write this control on the side so I don't forget it. Control, I'm going to do food, just so I remember. Okay. All right, so let's work on the how. Okay, and so How or procedure? Okay. Okay, so we have a naturalistic environment. Our independent variables are these behavioral categories. Okay, the behaviors described, behavior / activities. Okay. Now this is also going to be a natural experiment, right? Because our kids, okay, these activities are already naturally occurring in the classroom, all right? And I'm going to write that. Natural activities occur organically. Okay, so it's not, sorry about that. I wrote that when you didn't see it. The activities are going to occur organically, so it's going to be natural. If it was controlled, then we would be creating the activities and setting those stations up for the kids, kind of like in Bandura. But this is natural activities. Where basically Mrs. P's just taking what happens naturally because she already noticed it. Okay, remember, it says it right here. She has been watching the young children, okay? So their behavior is natural. We're not going to control that. So we're just kind of saying that these activities occur naturally, okay? We can also say that this is going to be I'm going to do a covert observation. And this is just so the children don't have any suspicion, okay? And how would we do this? Maybe let's do someone who's not biased. So let's do like maybe a third-party teacher, third party, or another teacher as the observer. Okay. We're going to have it's definitely, I'm going to say that I'm going to do a non-participant because I don't want anyone to try to entice the children. So if we had a participant observation, participant would be like Schachter and Singer, where a participant was kind of getting everybody up and involved in all of that stuff. And a non-participant would just mean that we don't, there's nobody that is involved to try to make our participants do anything. Non-participant observation. Okay. All right, I'm going to give myself a little bit more room, and we're going to continue with the procedure here. So I'm basically going to give a brief statement about the procedure and how I imagine it to go, and then I'm going to talk about the ethics here. Boom. All right. Children will naturally play at recess for 1 hour on Tuesday at 9 a.m. prior to lunch. Their activities have been pre-recorded, and a third-party observer will monitor activities and count children every 15 minutes. If other activities occur, they will be counted as other. Ethics. Children were not asked any demanding questions or activities. Their parents were debriefed afterwards. Deception of true aim to children was necessary to avoid demand characteristics and maintain natural group activities. Okay, so it's very, 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 very important that you add that deception was necessary and why it was necessary. Okay, make sure that your study is ethical. You definitely need to have an ethical study to get more than 4 points on this. Okay. All right, we're on our last question. Identify one practical weakness or limitation with the procedure you have described in your answer to part A. Suggest how your study might be done differently to overcome this problem. Okay, so see right here, it says do not refer to the ethics or sampling. They're being really nice and no. Okay, they're being really nice and they're telling you this, okay? We're talking about procedure. All right, if you have to go back to your how section, notice in my how section here, I don't have any sampling and I don't have any ethics. Okay, so let's see. Well, because it was a field experiment, we had low controls. Okay, the controls, we really couldn't control the children. So I'm going to say, let's see. Okay, so due to the study being a field experiment, researchers weren't able to control variables, making validity low. Groups could have occurred due to friendships instead of love for the activity. Okay, so I'm trying to basically get 2 points by telling a limitation, and then another 2 points by suggesting how I might have done that specific thing different, which is that field experiment. Okay, so, I'll just basically, due to the study being a field experiment, researchers weren't able to control variables, making validity low. Groups could have occurred due to friendships instead of love for the activity. I mean, there's distractions and things that happen in the environment. I could have kept going. A lab experiment will help researchers gain more control of their participants. It will enable possible control over confounds, like in their environment or other distractors that would, basically, this would help to maintain good validity, because if we can control things in our environment, I mean, even a butterfly, okay, a butterfly might take a kid away from activity in a normal setting when it might not happen in a lab setting, okay? All right.